el Mobile World Congress tiene una marca paraguas, una iniciativa paraguas, que es Mobile World Capital, que busca llevar el impacto de ese congreso más allá de esos 4 días y más allá de la propia ciudad de Barcelona. Llevamos 5 años trabajando. Hemos hecho programas, iniciativas muy punteras. Algunas de ellas han consolidado muy bien, otras las hemos tenido que guardar en el cajón, otras simplemente pues, no han funcionado. Pero aquellos programas y aquellas iniciativas que hemos probado en Barcelona son los que vamos a intentar traer al resto de España. Llevamos trabajando 5 años en el ámbito de la innovación, con startups, dando cohesión a un ecosistema muy potente, digital, en Barcelona, en Madrid, en Málaga, Granada, Sevilla, Bilbao, Valencia. Las cosas se están haciendo muy bien. Tenemos 2 hubs digitales dentro de los 10 primeros de Europa. Somos el único país de Europa que tiene 2 hubs digitales. Estamos trabajando en programas de transferencia de tecnología que son únicos en el mundo y que esperamos en un par de añitos poder traerlos a Madrid y en los próximos 5 años tenerlos desplegados por toda España. Estamos trabajando en temas de talento digital. Llevamos unos cuantos años trabajando con niños de 12 a 14 años intentando generarles vocaciones científicas y tecnológicas y despertarles ese espíritu emprendedor que ya empieza a ser necesario a día de hoy. 133.000 niños han estado trabajando en una asignatura optativa con la Generalitat de Cataluña. Es un programa que está bien trabajado, bien dimensionado, bien consolidado y que se puede exportar a otras comunidades autónomas. Estamos trabajando en analizar el impacto que la tecnología móvil y las tecnologías en general están teniendo en nuestra sociedad. Estamos en pleno lanzamiento de Digital Future Society, que es posiblemente la iniciativa más importante de la Mobile World Capital. Empezaréis a oír hablar de ello en breve y esperamos poder venir en mayo, junio a hacer un lanzamiento internacional a Madrid, como Dios manda. Pero bueno, por introduciros un poquito el tema, lo que buscamos es dar respuesta a todos esos problemas que nos están preocupando como sociedad. Cómo va a ser el futuro del trabajo, cómo va a ser el futuro de la educación, conceptos éticos y algorítmicos, comunicación y democracia, cómo estamos accediendo a la información y cómo eso está condicionando la calidad de nuestros sistemas democráticos, cómo el regulador no está cogiendo el ritmo. En cada revolución siempre el regulador va por detrás, pero es que ahora no puede seguir el ritmo y lo estamos viviendo en nuestro día a día. Lo hemos visto con las VTCs, lo vemos con Airbnb y lo vamos a seguir viendo. Entonces, todos estos temas tienen que debatirse. Eso se va a hacer en España, se va a hacer una vez al año. Tenemos al World Economic Forum on board, tenemos a las Naciones Unidas, la Comisión Europea, países muy punteros que están innovando en todos estos temas. Tenemos a las tecnológicas, por supuesto, Amazon, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. Veréis que vamos a crear un think tank global muy potente y que vamos a crear el foro internacional de reflexión sobre estos temas más importante del mundo. Entonces, todo esto, obviamente, queremos compartirlo poquito a poquito, vamos a irlo dosificando, vamos a aparecer mucho por aquí y esperamos ir ampliando esta base y compartiendo todo esto con vosotros. Pero bueno, hoy estamos aquí para hablar de 5G. 5G es una tecnología que creemos o estamos convencidos que lo va a cambiar todo. Aquí tenemos distintos puntos de vista. Todos ellos van a intentar acercarnos un poquito más esta tecnología desde un punto de vista de estandarización, desde un punto de vista tecnológico, desde un punto de vista de ciberseguridad y desde un punto de vista de pensar en el futuro. Entonces, yo no me voy a extender mucho más porque los verdaderos protagonistas son ellos. Sí que quiero agradecer a nuestros ponentes que nos acompañan hoy aquí, que han cogido aviones para compartir experiencias y pensamientos con nosotros. Muchas gracias. Estamos encantados de teneros con nosotros, esperando escuchar vuestras experiencias, vuestros pensamientos y sobre todo saber cómo veis el futuro. Así que por mi parte eso es todo. Thandi, como soléis decir, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I don't need that. Hello, everyone. So, language switch. Sorry about that. Good morning. Good afternoon, actually. Yeah, good afternoon. Welcome to this talk today on 5G, as Juan introduced. First of all, a huge thank you to Mobile World Capital and to the Mobile Talks team for arranging this, inviting not only our panel of experts, but also for having me here. It's a great honor and a pleasure. I also see that we do have simultaneous interpreting, so I will try not talk too fast because I know what it's like being in that booth. So I had prepared some slides, but given that this is more of a panel, we won't actually be using the slides. But if I'm looking at my phone, it's not because I'm tweeting or texting or anything like that. I'm just looking at a couple of reminders of all the things I have to say, because 5G is a huge topic, right? We have an hour and a half here together, but we could literally talk for days. So let's see what we can get through. And we will also have the opportunity for you all to ask questions to our expert panels at the end. So keep those questions in mind and keep them coming. So a quick introduction to myself. So there you go, that's my face, that's my name, that's who I do and where I'm from. Does anybody know TM Forum here? Okay, great. Yay, front row. Okay, so TM Forum is a global non-profit organization. It's an industry group dedicated to the telecommunications sector and helping all telecommunications service operators and their technology partners really grasp the opportunities that digital revolution is offering them. So we do that through open and neutral collaboration. So TM Forum is a neutral hub where companies come together, get around a table, and innovate and collaborate to create new standards and allow all organizations involved to succeed better. I had a slide with lots of figures on them, but I won't bore you with them. Just to say that we represent over 850 companies present across 180 countries, and that these companies collectively serve 5 billion customers and have a combined revenue of $2 trillion. So that's for the scope of TM Forum. And with that, I'm sure you can understand why 5G is such a huge topic and that the stakes really are immense. So why exactly is 5G such a big topic? I don't know if you've noticed, but everything is becoming connected. Anybody here have a smartwatch? An Apple Watch or an Android watch? Anybody? Yeah. I'm sure there are more. So not only does the connected revolution span to telephones and watches, but everything is being connected today. So from dog collars to refrigerators to street lamps to jet engines, everything. And this is really changing our world, not only because these things are connected and talk to each other and do things without us, but because they're collecting data. And this data, when it's analyzed, will allow us, and is already allowing us, to create huge efficiencies and improve services. So it's really changing the way we interact with these things, with the world around us, and also with each other. So the word revolution really is not misleading here. So what exactly will 5G change in this revolution, or what will it enable? 5G is a technology, the 5th generation in mobile technology, and attributes will allow certain things, including enhanced mobile broadband, which I'm sure you've all heard of in a consumer context. Not only will we be able to download films in a few seconds, yay, more Netflix please, but also it'll enable new services in the media and entertainment space, in AR and VR and 3D services. In addition to enhanced mobile broadband, it also will provide ultra-reliable, low-latency communications. This is going to be vital in enabling those services that are very much awaited in this connected future, such as autonomous cars. So whether you fear them or can't wait for them, they are on the horizon. Tests have been done, they're coming soon. But in order to be done safely and in order to be able to scale, we will need this ultra-reliable, low latency. Another thing that this will enable are services, again, that lives will literally depend on, such as remote surgery and remote patient monitoring. So just think about being in a city with a small hospital and not having access to brain surgery experts. This will be able to be done through remote surgery. Tests have been run already out in China with great success, but in order for this to scale, again, 5G needs to be in place. And lastly, of the main attributes that 5G will enable is massive machine-type communications. So again, the fact that all of these objects are going to be connected, it's a huge amount of connections in a given geographical perimeter that we just cannot sustain at the moment. We will need 5G for this. And that will unlock huge industrial possibilities in IoT. So I'm sure many of us have heard of Industry 4.0 or the fourth industrial revolution. And this is another part that 5G will really unlock and enable. So what exactly is the scope of the opportunity in 5G? Again, I had a slide with some figures and some graphs, but numbers are not really my thing. So to be honest, I'm not too disappointed that I don't have the slides. What I will say is that at the moment, there are already 17 billion things connected. So these are not including our mobile phones and smartwatches. These are tactile objects, really just things. That is set to grow and again explode with the advent of 5G. Ericsson predicts that by 2023, so 4 years from now, just around the corner, there will be 3.5 billion objects connected through cellular technology. And given that we're talking about 5G today, which is the next generation in mobile technology, this is really our playing field, these 3.5 billion connected objects. Unfortunately, I don't have figures for how many of these 3.5 billion will be specifically connected to 5G, but it gives us a scope of the opportunity at hand. And they also predict, same source, Ericsson, that there will be 1 billion connected handsets, so these telephones. So that will be the consumer opportunity there. So there's Internet of Things, machine, more industrial, enterprise, commercial opportunities, and not forgetting the consumers like you and me, and that mobile broadband. So, of course, there are challenges with every opportunity. A brave new world is never easily accomplished. So there are six main challenges that we've identified at the TM Forum on the basis of our membership, which spans the whole industry, as explained. I won't go into much detail in these because I'm sure that our expert panelists will go into far more detail with them and they know more about it, to be perfectly honest. But the technology really is there, as we know. We're very good at developing technology, and oftentimes the challenge is then finding applications for it. So for 5G to really scale and become this success and unlocking the connected revolution, this technology needs to be turned into services, value-adding services that are really useful. Then those services need to lead on to revenues. We have to be able to monetize them. Or, unfortunately, it will stay a great idea in a box somewhere that humanity could have used, which would be very sad. So that's the biggest challenge, really, the use cases, finding real use cases that depend on 5G and that need 5G that cannot use other solutions. That, to be honest, is a tricky one. Then, once we have those services, looking at the new business models and pricing models is another challenge. This is all services that will be delivered through what we call digital ecosystems. No single organization will be able to roll out a full end-to-end IoT service. So new business models and revenue sharing models and risk sharing models need to come to light. 5G also as a technology has fairly substantial investment requirements and financing structures that are different to anything that we know today. Investment not only in antenna and fiber and small cells, but also at the operator side itself, going through digital transformation, the costs of that, network maintenance. All of these are things that need to be justified again by those specific use cases, business and pricing models that will unlock the ROI on that. There are also security concerns, and we have today with us a security expert, so I'm not going to get into that. He'll tell us a lot more about it. But the IoT will unlock a far greater threat landscape with the sheer number of connected devices not necessarily being particularly well protected. And also with the change that we just talked of in digital transformation, the networks becoming software defined, and with NFV and SDN, this leaves a larger threat open to the network as it's not physically protected anymore. The last two, standards fulfillment. So luckily now we have 5G standards set in place by 3GPP, the same organization behind the standards for the other mobile technology generations. But succeeding in fulfilling these standards remains a significant hurdle. So some of you may have heard recently in the news AT&T in the US claiming to deliver already 5G services. And quick on the back of that, competitor Verizon saying, actually that's misleading because they are not fulfilling the full standards of 5G. It's more of a 4G plus or LTE, so long-term evolution that's taking place. So the standards are there and fulfillment will take some time. And lastly, the regulatory plane. So regulations, again, with regards to privacy, data security, but also things that are often overlooked. I hadn't thought of this before doing my research to prepare this. The actual physical location of the small cells within an urban area or any geographical area is something that is regulated and requires careful consideration. So another hurdle, to not say barrier, to 5G development and deployment. Despite these, which may seem quite a few barriers and challenges, the race is fully on. It's absolutely, the industry is convinced, as I hope you are and will be today, that 5G is the future. And so it's all guns blazing, we're going for it, and the race is on. Who's currently leading this race? Well, 4 countries claim to be delivering 5G services at the moment. And I say claim with a little asterisk up here, again, in reference to that 4G plus LTE standards issue that we just talked about. So those countries are the US, currently available in 12 cities, Qatar, South Korea, and Japan. So no surprise on South Korea and Japan, as Northeastern Asia really is leading in this technology race. China as well is preparing for massive rollout and will certainly lead in terms of coverage across the country, but it is taking a little bit longer than their neighbors. Second place, we have Spain. Vamos, España. And we also have an expert speaker who will be talking to us, Federico, in a few minutes about this. I'm not going to go into that too much. Closely followed by Italy and Switzerland here in Europe. And then the real massive impact that we are awaiting should take place in 2020 with most European and Asian countries aiming to roll out commercial 5G services, as well as other countries, including Canada, Brazil, India, and Mexico. That's it. I was looking at my little flags here, remembering my geography. Okay, well, that was my very short introduction to, again, what we could discuss for days on end. But what you're all here to hear more about, really, is our expert panelists. So, without further ado, I will pass on to our first guest speaker, Federico, to introduce himself. Welcome. This is my station over here now. So welcome, Federico, if you don't mind introducing yourself. A couple of minutes. You got a mic?
So hello, everyone. I'm Federico Ruiz. I'm leading the 5G National Observatory for Spain. That's a pretty recent addition to the 5G ecosystem. And we are here to basically make sure that things happen, that the landscape that you just described gets really fulfilled, and that we reap the reward as both citizens and the workers, let's say. That's basically it for my presentation. So
tell us, from the National Observatory, and we just heard me mention that Spain is one of the leading countries in terms of 5G. So tell us a little bit more about this and the opportunities that you just mentioned, both for citizens and enterprises in Spain.
So if I jump to the core of the subject of the Spanish status for 5G, I would say there are three main things to watch here. First, we have academia. We have a really nice ecosystem of academia, of research, of startups, working closely with the industry. I was really surprised. I've been working on research for some time. So I was really surprised to see that we are really present in something like 40-something out of 50-something H2020 research projects. That was a very, very nice surprise. So what we'll do in this area where we are already well placed, we'll try to make sure that this is fully in line with what we can achieve industrially in Spain, that we're going to align research with industry. So that's the first topic, research. Second one is industry. So we have, first of all, a very nice thing. We all use this every day. A very nice broadband already coverage in Spain, very nice speeds, very convenient. We use it for already downloading movies in the type of minutes type of downloading times. We have a who's who of every operator. We have key players on the operator side, on the manufacturing side. So we have to use this ecosystem, which is pretty strong, not to pat ourselves on the back and say we're already there, but to use it as an incredible head start to build 5G on top of that. So, for example, our fiber coverage can be used to deploy whatever we want, a very nice 5G spot applications. We can use it to bring broadband coverage to industrial plants, to citizens, whatever we can. And we can build on top of that whatever we want. And we can work with industry for that, because we have as I say, the who's who of industry here. The second one is support from governments. And I would say our governments have been very active and not only governments, but also cities, which are very important for that, supporting the deployment of broadband and 5G. So we have the incredible chance and opportunity of building on top of the Mobile World Congress. It's an incredible opportunity to watch what is coming, the shape of things to come, and the pilot projects that we have there, and we're showing it. I don't want to make too much of a spoiler there, but a very nice idea of what we will see in the future. We have deployments in cities. We have already things, and citizens are seeing 5G with very nice applications for example, in connected cars, in transportation, for example. Not everyone, not every country, not every city has this. So go there, and we have to reap the benefits of these very early deployments. We have also a very nice and just starting deployment of pretty serious pilot projects already. So we just worked with, government just worked with industry and with academia to deploy 2 very big and well-funded pilot projects that really gather everyone, industry and academia, startups, governments, regulators, everyone. So there's no reason why we cannot keep this lead and maintain it and fully exploit it.
That's fantastic. Thank you very much. I know that we'll come back to you if you'd like to take a seat, because we're going to have our panel afterwards. So I'd like to keep the questions all for the end when we have all our panelists together, if that's okay. But do keep them in mind or jot them down if you're quite forgetful like me. But thank you, Federico. Moving on, Somaya, welcome. Somaya, you represent Ericsson, which is really one of the leaders in terms of 5G technology worldwide. But you are responsible primarily for Iberia and Morocco, I believe. So please, Iberia only. Okay. So please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about how Ericsson sees the great opportunities and what it considers to be the main challenges in 5G rollout.
Perfect. Well, my name is Somaya El Marrakchi, and I'm head of networks in Iberia, not anymore in Morocco, because we had some organizational changes. And I'm in Ericsson, Spain. As you said correctly, Thandi, Ericsson is one of the leaders. Well, it's a Swedish multinational telecommunication company, and a technological leader. And in 5G in particular, we are one of the true leaders. Why? Because we have a portfolio already. And as you said, when you said even between brackets that we have some, in the US, the first 5G networks, I can say that we are one of the partners and the one, with our portfolio that in US, so we have launched the first 5G networks. So it's not the future, it's something that is happening already now. And it's not only 4G plus, it's 5G.
Okay.
Okay, but apart from this, yes, even in US, yes, are the first one, but we are even now building networks, 5G networks in Asia, in Europe as well, using commercial equipments, which is extremely, of course, important. We are working, of course, the ecosystem, as you said, and as you said as well, and we are working on the interoperability between our equipments and the devices and the whole ecosystem, which is that as well extremely important, for this 5G journey. So that is for my presentation. 5G, you said, what are the opportunities, what are the challenges, what are the drivers? I should say that you mentioned very good, your summary in the beginning was extremely good. So I would like to say that why we need the 5G. We need the 5G from, I will talk about it from a technical part, then we jump in the commercial part as well and the business part. First of all, the first driver is that the traffic is tremendously, the data traffic is increasing a lot. From some analysis and forecast that we're having, it's between 5 to 8 times, from now to 2026. So with the current, the networks that we are having right now, they cannot cope with this traffic. They cannot cope with, they don't have the capacity, just for this. So that is one of the first things, the spectrum that the 5G, the new spectrum that the 5G will bring. larger spectrum, and that will give higher throughput. And as you said as well, there will be applications that will need new requirements, this ultra-reliability, as you are saying, the latency, the higher throughput, and all this. So that part as well, 4G can help, but to a certain extent. We will need the 5G with all the new features inside to go to reach this and to make this happen. So that is the first driver, technological driver for the 5G. Second one is that, of course, in order to deploy all this, the cost per gigabit in 4G, if we follow and to help our customers to manage this traffic increase, should change. And 5G is the answer to this, because the cost per gigabit for 5G compared to the 4G is 10 times less. Okay, so that is really, because we are introducing several features, because of, sharing the resources, because of the spectrum and that we have larger bandwidth, because of the automation that will be introduced and all this. So that is the second driver. The third driver that is extremely important, we have done, some analysis with Arthur de Little, and if the operators that are our main customers, if the mobile operators continue with the current services that we are having, so that means the mobile broadband mainly, the yearly growth if they are keeping only these current services, the yearly growth will be only 1.5%. Because, it's not growing that much. So the business case cannot fly if they are not jumping in this industry digitalization, okay? And from this analysis, we foresee something like 36% potential new revenues. So that's why 5G is really an answer even to keep, and to renew this from a business perspective, of course, the business for our operators. So those are the drivers. I would like to say something, and even to answer, comment something that Federico said. For us, yes, 5G will present really endless possibilities. Okay, and I like to repeat what one of my colleagues is saying. 5G is like, the Kinder chocolate egg. So we will see, it will be even a surprise. Something that we don't know yet. It's like all the previous generation, we were expecting, but it was beyond, the expectation, and with full speed, with scale and everything. So we will see, what 5G will bring. But something that is extremely important is that the mobile infrastructure should be seen as a critical national infrastructure, okay? Because that will be the enabler for all what we are saying, what will happen for this digitalization of the whole economy. So that is something extremely important. So one of the things that is the first ingredient to this, it's true, for the ecosystem, with the pilots, with the regulation and everything, but the first one, and that is a big challenge here in Spain, is the spectrum. It's true that we had the auction already this year, and that is extremely good, because, majority of the country, the European countries still don't have these 5G auctions. So here in Spain, it's really something extremely positive. Even from a cost perspective, here, at least for the 3.5, that will be the first band for the 5G. We are not having, it was, from a price perspective, good, not like other countries, and I will mention Italy, because it was the cost was just too high. It was like seen as a tax revenue for the government. And that's not good at all. Why? Because if you are, the investment and the budget of our operators are limited. If they are paying these fees, very high fees for the spectrum, they will not be able, or they will invest less in the network, in their network, in building their network. And then it will delay all this economic, hype that, and digitalization that we are waiting for. So that's, that is something that that we need really to pay attention to, And that is, and I insist on taking the mobile infrastructure as critical national infrastructure. So that is an important one. Why I'm saying for Spain? Because it's true that we have the auction for the 5G, for the spectrum. It's true that we have, from a price perspective, it was, at a good level. But like it is right now, it cannot be used by all the operators because it will need a reordering. That is that needs to be, and here the regulation is really extremely important. So we have, our operators have already this spectrum, but they cannot use it fully. So that is important. What are the other challenges, to make this 5G happen? Part this is the regulation, and you mentioned it as well, because in order to do this, we will need to have the regulation helping us and as a facilitator to remove all the barriers for the deployment and even to help us, with, like for the pilots and all, just to build this ecosystem. And that is something extremely important as well. In order to jump to move to another point, very important, the use cases, as you are saying, that is extremely important to what use case and how to use it. Because as we said, and in the same analysis from jointly done with Arthur de Little, we have done a sort of this 36% potential revenue more that they can take. Operators can take this only if they are not they are moving from what they are doing right now, as we said, only the connectivity, but moving and taking the whole roles in the chain, in the whole chain. That means to be even service enablers and service creators. And in order to do this, the operator should first understand the industry, because it's a completely different word to them, okay? So first of all, to understand what are the pain points, in this industry, and how 5G can bring value to this industry. So that is the first thing. Then, of course, after we need to have, to understand even the ecosystem, to have a deep dive in this, to understand what are the new business models that we will use, what is the go-to market that we will need to use. This is completely new. Mm-hmm. What is even, what will be even the capabilities that are needed. And then we arrive to the use case and how this use case can evolve. And of course, how can I monetize this and how can I get the revenues from this? All this, it's a big equation that we are working and helping our customer with. And from this same analysis, we have identified what are the areas or the industries that will bring more potential. The first one is manufacturing. We see in the manufacturing, something like 18 to 20%.
Somaya, I'm just going to stop you there because that's a question we're definitely going to get into with all of our panels. So hold back on the industries where the main potential lies.
Okay,
and then that's something that we'll all talk about if that's okay.
I will only say that we will need really an end-to-end approach, an end-to-end proposal, something really structured, involving all the chain. And the last one that I would like to mention, and I think it will even introduce the next one of the challenges, because we have even asked our we are doing a lot of surveys to understand, to have a better understanding. And the first thing that was, popped up when we are asking the industries, what are the barriers that you can see for 5G to happen? 78%. 78%, and it was the top one, barrier that they can see, is the privacy and security. So definitely this. Then others, it was the ecosystem, the use cases, the standardizations and all. But the first one was that one, because being all connected, this will, bring a lot of concerns that we need to address. Okay.
Thank you so much, Somaya, and thank you for doing my job. I think that leads us straight into our next speaker. Gerard, please. You represent a company
Enigmedia.
that focuses on, yes, please do stay with us, that addresses cybersecurity. So after that introduction, tell us more.
Thank you, Somaya, for your kind introduction. So, I'm Gerard Vidal. I'm Chief Scientific Officer of Enigmedia. We are a company that focuses on industrial cybersecurity. So instead of typical companies such as McAfee, antivirus, whatever, we just focus on how in your industrial plan, in your grid, in your transportation system, you can secure not the very fancy computers, just the old machines, that you have in the legacy standard, in the legacy facilities. And that's one of the reasons because security is a concern. Just to finish and introduce myself, so I am the accredited expert of Spain in SE27 in ISO. So SE27 is the subcommittee for security of information technologies, and ISO is the organization of standards. Right, so basically I'm representing Spain when we have to discuss something about should we introduce blockchain in the standards or not? Should we introduce quantum cryptography in the standards or not? These kind of questions. So, say that, just let me present why there is a trend in cybersecurity and which is why the people is saying that is a barrier. So, first of all, let me figure out this scenario, right? So everybody is working for a better world. Everybody agrees that, right? So we are looking for a more sustainable world with more profits, et cetera, et cetera. And the way that we as a human beings do that is digital transformation. So we are using technology. And in that case, the way to, automatize of the processes comes with 5G, right? So basically, when we want to improve an industrial process, what we do is we have to review the automatization life cycle. So which is the process that I can do automatically. Then what I think is how can I improve this process? Once when I know that how can I improve this process, I have to think how my legacy equipment fits into this new process, correct? And after that, I think which are the new services that I can build in this automatization. By doing this, by making this, this way of thinking, we can see 3 potential threats. First of all, if I want to introduce a new process, I have to convince people who is working in a factory that they have to change the way they work. Problem number 1, people. And that's a big security issue, people. Problem number 2, we have legacy systems. So I will put you an example, a real example of a potential attack in a 5G network. If you make a deployment of a 5G network, but you also have an endpoint in a 2G network, the way you have to make these 2 points connect is through the 2G network, of course, because you have designed everything to be compatible with the past, right? With the legacy devices. So this means that even if you buy a super new 5G device, you could have potential threats that you have in the 2G devices, right? So first of all, the second problem is legacy. And heterogeneous networks. We can say that. Because for me, the third problem is regulation, which is the following. Once I am deploying a solution, once I have the standards, what I have to do is the following. I don't want to pay money for changing my infrastructure because there is some chief financial officer, wherever, who don't want to, say something like, well, let's build everything new. So they want to hear about that. They have put in some accountability, let's say, well, we have to use these machines 20 years. Even you say, no, 5G is coming, we'll say, well, but it's still 15 years using this machine. I don't want to, I don't want to lose my job. So we will not do that.
Yeah.
People, right? It's like, let's say it's a kind of cycle. So what's happening is at the end of the day, we have to increase the awareness. First of all, we have to say that, well, what we are doing, the new systems that we are promoting are good. And it works, and we need to invest in that. But we have to convince the people to use these systems properly. And they have to admit that they are doing, they have to learn what is happening, right? So the first barrier, let's say the first cybersecurity issue is people. And you have to teach them, you have to convince them, you have to make training. And that's something that even we are a cybersecurity company, we say, no, we cannot do that. You have to make, let's say, a training, hire somebody in a consultancy firm, do that. Because you cannot stop people, right? It's easy to code a machine and say, please do not push this button, but you cannot avoid that in a person, right? It's a huge problem. So, say that, I would like to separate to really different scenarios that we have when we are talking about cybersecurity. Usually, when we talk about cybersecurity, we think on GDPR, right? Let's say it's an endpoint, and there is a human as an endpoint. There is my data as a human that is going through the network. But that's just a minimum part, right? So you have said that there is only 1 billion, or maybe you have said that there is 1 billion of handsets, right? But it's 20 billion of connected devices. So the market is in the 20 million. Just focus on the 20 million. I would like to talk about that because today we have a problem. That is, we are writing the standards. I don't want to introduce the next panelist, but we have this problem now. And this is the huge opportunity. This is the hot trend. This is the reason because people is talking about cybersecurity. Because basically, when you are going to a factory and you are presenting a really super nice use case, people say, well, but, I have to change everything to put your technology. Should I teach the other people to use this technology? Are you compliant with IEC 62443? Please write down this number because this is really important. If you say no to any of those questions, you're out. You are losing my time. Maybe you are, it's too hard. I have some problems. I want to go to holidays, so just figure out, and then we talk again. So that's the huge problem in cybersecurity. And the reason we have to solve this problem, because there is a reason to solve this problem, is the following. 5G is awesome for improving the automation, the life cycle of the automation processes. So we can boost the industries, but we don't know how to do that at this moment. There is this stopper, which is the Chief Information Security Officer, that basically is a no-no doctor, that when you're presenting some ideas, he say, no, it's not compliant, no, it's not working, no, just come later, And the way to overcome this is to take and to solve this problem, this AAC 62443, right? So if you present to this CICO this, you have a champion. Because, he don't want to be the guy who is always just shutting down the music, right? Because she wants to be a digital enabler, she wants to be your champion, she wants to bring new ideas in the board. He wants to do that. But in order to do that, you must be compliant. And this is the discussion that we have today, because today what we are doing is building these standards. I don't know if there is any question or it's a good introduction.
Repeat that number again. What is it? IE?
62443. Please write down. It's really important.
There's going to be a quiz afterwards, by the way. Anyone who fails doesn't get a drink. No, I'm joking. Thank you very much, Gerard. I like the fact that you brought this back to the people for two reasons. First of all, I think that we talk way too much about technology and forget that it's always people behind the technology. And second, because we have a lot of people here, and this is all about interaction, right? There's no barrier between us. And we do have a piece of technology to facilitate our communication and questions. So all the questions that have been brewing in your mind at the moment, you can now go to menti.com, where we have this cool little app where you put in your questions and they will come up on the screen, and then we can ask our panelists. So you've already had 3 people talking. I hope you can remember the questions. But while you are busy doing that, I would also like to welcome our 4th panelist to introduce himself and tell us a little bit more about his work at the GSMA. Michele, go ahead.
Thank you, Thandi. So my name is Michele Zarri. I work in the GSMA Association. I'm doing technology, specifically the 5G projects of GSMA. So I'm here today to discuss what we expect in GSMA to see next week at the biggest event that was mentioned earlier, the Mobile World Congress, but also how our expectations for 5G are building up and what it can do for people as well as for machines.
So tell us a little bit more about what you expect news and highlights to be in the 5G space at Mobile World Congress.
So we think this is finally the year when it will happen. In the past, we've seen from 2 years or 3 years ago stands with 5G signs, 5G logos, companies talking about it, but next week it will be real. There will be devices on display that enable 5G. We heard that networks are ready, have been deployed in many countries, and you mentioned Spain being one of them, which matches with our readiness index. It's something that we are working in GSMA to understand based on a number of parameters, which are the countries that are readier to deploy 5G. And I have to say Spain came up almost on top around the world. And that's due to the penetration of fiber, it's due to the license, it's due to the readiness of people to have this data crunch coming, so having the need for the capacity. So Spain is coming up very well, and we believe it will be one of the first countries to deploy 5G with the devices that you will see next week if you are in Barcelona. The other thing that is striking is that if you look at the past, how long it took from when the standards were ready to when you actually see products in the hands of people, the gap for 2G was probably in the region of 3-4 years, maybe more, but that was the first. For 3G, 6 years from when the standards were finished to when the first smartphone arrived. 4G was a bit shorter. 5G, we hope that we are down to 1 year or less. So that's really amazing how the pace have picked up. And the reason is that we hope that 5G will change society. Not only in advanced countries where we will see more digitalized services, education, we'll see companies adopting the technology to improve their processes, but also the life of people, because if you have an optimized way of routing the traffic in a city, everybody benefits from it. So artificial intelligence will play a major role in making the city smarter, in making the processes more efficient, and eventually these benefits will be passed on to us. In terms of how our experience will change in our daily interaction with our smartphone, the prayers that we say 5 times a day, at least I do, we don't expect to see too much of a change because, in fairness, 4G, which was designed as an always-on, always connected type of mobile network, is doing an extremely good job in providing broadband on the move. However, AR, VR, or other types of applications that low latency will enable, such as video communications with holograms and all futuristic things that you spoke about, self-driving cars and telemedicine, will start to have a bigger and bigger impact on the way we conduct our lives. So we hope that starting from the Western countries and Northeast Asia and North America, these benefits will move to be addressable by all the society, including the 750 million still unconnected people that are in the world. And I cannot imagine anymore my life without a broadband connection. My kids were not even in this planet when, and they don't understand that there was life before mobile phones. So, but there are 750 million in the world that actually live today without this magical tool in our pocket. So Barcelona, great show for seeing what 5G can do. There will be, of course, a lot of emphasis on the industrial part of it, because as Somaya was saying, this is where the money is. And due to the investments necessary that you mentioned, we need to see how 5G can create this growth, because the consumer market is something like a flat market. It will not go down, but it's like a utility style 1%, 2% growth every year. And that is not enough to put a base station in every corner of a city, as some predictions like to make us imagine the world of the future. So we are now at the verge of this 5G revolution. We hope that it will really bring all the benefits that have been promised. And there is one last thing that GSMA is very keen on. It is the little ring that we have here. That is the Sustainable Development Goals. There are targets that the United Nations put on the society for 2030. And we think that 5G will be one of the keys to realize those goals, to take these benefits that the mobile revolution has created and translate them into real benefits for people. And that's how we hope we'll see the year 2021 where everything will be done.
Everything?
Everything.
Hardly ambitious. Thank you very much, Michele. I don't know if you have eyes in the back of your head, but as you were talking, you were answering the questions. So
sorry, yeah.
I don't know if he's already connected in some way that we're not. But yes, please do sit down. Thank you very much for that. And bringing it back to people, once again, it's definitely a topic that I'm going to bring up in the panel again. But just quickly, out of interest, who here is planning on attending Mobile World Congress in Barcelona? Okay, so good delegation out of I think you're going to go over your 100,000 target, I think. So thank you very much to our panelists for that introduction. And I see many of you are already using the Mentimeter, I think it's called, so that's great. I'd like to just start off with a general question to the panel. We have already touched on it, but in your opinions, where are we going to see the first applications of 5G that will really be visible and impact our lives? What are the industries and areas that you think will come up first?
Who wants to commit?
I think we have another mic somewhere. Yeah, we do, so we can have two.
Well, I often, very often have this question. We cannot avoid it. I've been synchronizing answers, honestly, with players in the industry, and no one really is expecting the agreement that we had is no one is really expecting a wide range of, just to put it directly on phones, of devices before the end of 2020. More likely on 2021. We will have a real scope of phones to pick our next phone. That's for the easy part, let's say, for the enhanced broadband. The tricky question is about when we will see 5G in other domains, in industry, in other applications, in the hands of medics or garage or industrial plants. And now that's my guess is as good as yours, honestly. And it's really up to us to push this to happen. Because I come from the component industry. I don't think this physically happening before the end of 2020. But the important thing is let's already build some nice and compelling applications which are also money attracting for everyone.
Okay, I agree with you. I use this one because I think it's not working. Okay. Well, I agree with you. When it will happen, I mean, there are different things for this to happen. First of all, the devices. That is one of the most important things because if we would like to have, this, 5G, we need even 5G devices because the ones that we are having are for other technologies. We need even the operators to deploy. We need the industry and the use cases that we say to be there. So, but we don't need to wait for the 5G to start actually, positioning for the 5G. And that is the most important thing. We have already, with the current technology that we have, with the 4G, we need to start, because the question was earlier, what use case? We leave the enhanced mobile broadband, like you are saying, but really when we are thinking about 5G, we are not usually thinking about the enhanced mobile broadband, but all, what will come in the massive, type applications or in the industry or something like this. So that part, we don't need to wait for the 5G to start testing and defining these use cases, because with the current, what we have right now with the current technology, we need to start the use cases and then have them evolved, towards the 5G once the technology will be ready, deployed and all. But I tend to agree with you, because we will start deployment. We started deployment already, trials, deployments and all. But when it will be really massively and really used, then it will take some time.
Our view is that we are likely to see the first experience of 5G maybe in sports events. If you look back at the first trial of 5G, it was the Olympics in Pyongyang in South Korea, Winter Olympics. There were some tests done in Russia during the Football World Cup. And it's a very good playing ground because you have this massive bandwidth, you have this latency, you have this network that can adapt and create the perfect solution for you on the fly. And so I would imagine, and if you walk in Barcelona next week, you will see it. Sport will make the most of immersive, being able to put you in the middle of the action, even if you're at home or if you're in the stadium, to provide the connectivity that today you don't have. You go to the stadium today, you cannot even send a text message. So that's where I think we will see the first impact for people. But the real impact will be maybe a bit hidden, and it will be due to the new core network that make 5G so flexible that it adapts to hundreds of different use cases. And that will be the real revolution.
Okay, thank you. I think it's interesting also to realize, this hasn't been said specifically, but it's been hinted towards, that we can't even imagine the applications that will come, the innovation. I mean, it probably won't even be born from people of our generation, right? Juan was saying you guys are investing a lot in digital education for kids 12, 14 years old. These are the people who are going to bring these new ideas. Again, things we can't even imagine yet. We don't know what the future's made of. And I think that's really, really exciting. We can sit here and talk about autonomous cars, even flying cars, the drones and everything. But really, the potential of 5G, what it will unlock, we can't even fathom yet. So that's something to look forward to. You just don't know what the future's made of, and we can't really predict that. We have a lot of questions here. I'm looking at them very briefly. I think that the audience is keen to talk about the telco business model, really, and the monetization on that side. And we, again, alluded to, without really mentioning this word, but that commoditization, which is a dirty word for telcos because we don't want that to happen to our industry, but it is starting to happen. How can we prevent this? How can we keep monetizing what the service providers are offering in terms of connectivity, and what more can they do?
Well, I think that, how to monetize is one of the big questions that we don't have the answer yet, okay? But what is important at the end is what are the pain points that, we will have, that what will be the needs, what will be the pain points of the industries in general, or the needs even for, people, because we are talking about people, and it's about creating value. If you create value, you can monetize. If you are not creating value, you cannot monetize. So it's really that part, to understand. We have done, this analysis that I was talking about earlier. So we have identified, what are the industries that we can see now with what we know, and how we can forecast what will be, the areas that will bring higher potential, revenues, manufacturing, utilities, public safety, health, or something like this. But even that, we need really to understand what 5G, with all, what 5G can really bring to them as value to help, in the growth. And that is a question, and we were commenting before the event, even for the previous generation, we didn't know exactly, the potential that even 4G or even 3G or 2G brought, before. It was beyond the expectation. It was, it's like for the, I don't know, for the automotive industry. First you have the infrastructure, the roads, and then the business from the automotive, Now it's one of the biggest.
Yeah, I think Somaya hit the right point. If you look at 4G, there's no doubt that value has been created. 10 years ago, there was no Amazon. They couldn't have a business without a mobile network. Maybe Facebook, Instagram, Google, and Apple to a point. So the value has a growth, maybe a growth of times 10. However, the approach of mobile operators in the 4G era has been more to just provide this connectivity. They didn't manage to get into the value chain at the right point, which is going to service enablement and managed solutions. Now, that's why we pin a lot of hopes on 5G, and specifically on this silent revolution of the core network that I was saying before will enable 5G to be so flexible that you can really create a network that fits a use case, and you don't have to have the use case to fit the network. So by creating this capabilities exposure, where you can offer the capabilities that an operator has to a business that has a bright idea that we don't know about yet. You can create these partnerships where it's a win-win. The healthcare industry need mobile to enhance their healthcare performance and or insurance, and mobile operator has the means to do it. So it's we had to move from the 4G era where it was over the top to partnerships and win-win. And that's, to me, the key to unlock the value overall in the ecosystem.
On this notion of partnerships, collaboration, openness, what more can and should be done from all stakeholders? I mean, who are the stakeholders that we need at the table to unlock all of this value, and what role will standards play in this, given that we have quite a few people here who deal with standards on a day-to-day basis?
Well, maybe it's for me, this one. Well, standards provide us a common language, a common dialect that we will all speak. The thing with 5G, at least for that's my perspective, is that we will have a lot of players that are not in the picture right now. We're going to have people already present in as big players in cloud that may make an appearance in the telco arena very soon. And that is going to bring a lot of disruption. And we have players coming from old-fashioned industry and new types of operators specializing in verticals, in connectivity for cars, for industry. So collaboration, yes, we do need this, and we need this common language, and this we need. No single player will only win on providing connectivity alone. So we need this collaboration. We also need, and we have to face this, a little bit of competition and disruption as well, for revenue to keep flowing again.
Again, the way we started to form a concept in GSMA is around looking at what cloud business has done. So the cloud, they sell their capabilities, which is compute storage. They also sell full services through APIs or through their platform. And that is something that maybe the operator could look at. And the openness that you need there is that while there is one Google Cloud, one Amazon Web Services, there are 750 mobile operators. So we need to create this homogeneous ecosystem that allows a developer or a vertical industry to say, I know how to interface with this type of capability providers. And it doesn't take much, but mobile operators are traditionally very competitive and not inclined to cooperate, even if this is changing quite quickly. So there is hope, and the openness is that exposing the capabilities in a homogeneous way in a Google Play Store or App Store of Apple. Apple is making millions, just not creating a single app, but enabling that apps to be created by everybody. Maybe there's a lesson there.
Yeah, that platform revolution kind of model. Yeah. Who here represents a telco? Oh, sorry. Just a quick question to the audience. Who here represents a telco? Anyone representing an operator? One shy one. Put your hands up. I can't see. All right, 2. Okay. 3.
Yes.
3. Okay.
4.
Why is everybody so shy? Okay. All right, we've scared them. Sorry, Somaya, you were saying.
No, it was only about to mention, a good initiative that we are having here in Spain, and it was even in other countries in Europe. Those 5G government pilots that we are having right now. That is the best example, to have the full ecosystem there and collaborating. We have the academia, we have the industries, we have, of course, the telcos. We have, it's open, and it's the scope behind this is exactly to test this, to create this ecosystem, to create an environment. And even one of the requirements to those pilots was even to open this not only to the use cases that this consortium will choose, but even to open it as an environment, open environment, to invite the industry, other players to come in and to test, to have everything already from an end-to-end point of view ready to test, because the players are just too many. You can imagine if someone would like to do this and need to build all this, the needed environment, it's not feasible. Yeah. So that is a way, really, that to help this collaboration, and that's an excellent example. So
thank you. Yeah, breaking down those walls, sharing and creating efficiencies. Yeah, there might be a lesson in there for our dear Mr. Trump about protectionism. I didn't say that. Whatever. Different topic. Sorry. I see a question here that actually I wanted to come back to when you, Michele, mentioned our beautiful badges here. We know that, we have 5G services in place in very developed countries at the moment, expecting them this year and next year in other fairly developed and rapidly developing countries. But I, for one, didn't found any statistics or forecasts for anywhere in Africa or Latin America. Does anyone have any ideas about when 5G will start having an impact on emerging societies and how it will impact that? What's the potential there?
I think the main problem with this type of not as developed countries as Western Europe is not only the infrastructure but also devices. Because obviously, if you think about transferring 1 megabyte of data, in 5G it will take a fraction of a second. With 2G it takes probably a few minutes or more. So the efficiency of 5G would make you think, why don't you start leapfrog 3G and go straight into the most modern technology? But the cost of the device is what blocks this type of initiatives, because if you go to countries like Rwanda or Ghana, it's common to have a second hand or even the phone that you discarded 5 years ago, now it's there. So that's a big blocking point. And it has been addressed partially with 4G. In India, you have now feature phones that cost less than $25. And that has created the phenomenon which is Reliance Jio, who went from zero to be maybe the second biggest operator in India, using the most modern technology like VoLTE for calls and 4G. If we will see this happening in Africa and Latin America, then it depends very much on the device issue. And of course, the infrastructure is also a problem that if you don't have a road to get to the base station, it's not about the device, it's about something more fundamental.
Any other predictions around the emerging nations? I think that is still pretty much a cloud.
But it's true that, I mean, learning from the past, yes, they are coming late, but they are catching up very quickly.
Very fast.
So that is it, I mean, because, I mean, they are looking, they are reusing the experience from of course, the North America, Asia, and Europe. So it will be a bit later. You know, but then they will catch up very quickly.
They'll catch up quickly.
And that's what we should be, because, you know, it will be something really, the whole world connected. That will be the potential, I mean, the full potential, yeah.
And also, as you were saying, you know, the use cases come from really looking where pain points are and then solving those. I think that often those nations really have more pressing pain points than we might have. And therefore, the use cases are more compelling, more impactful, and that will drive the speed at which they adopt it as well.
Definitely. Last year we were, I mean, in discussion with Morocco, so it's still Africa, North Africa, and basically, you know, this remote surgery was a good example, because there are rural areas where they don't have even the basic, you know, medical center or something like this. So that could be really, in those areas, even more, you know, powerful than in other areas where you can find hospitals or you can travel easily or something like this. So the potential is huge, I think. So it's a matter of time.
Yeah, as a small anecdote, I lived part of my life in South Africa, and I know that the first heart transplant took place in South Africa.
Exactly.
And this is, you know, they are very medically advanced. And actually remote surgery, I was traveling in Canada for a technology event and met a South African surgeon who was coming to teach the Canadians about remote surgery. And you'd think, but this is insane. Wouldn't the Canadians be going to teach the Africans? But no, where there's a need, that's where innovation stems. So
it's about value, yes. When you are creating value, then yes, it will happen.
And what's more valuable than saving a life, right? So,
exactly.
Okay. Well, we are at time there. I don't know if we can still accept a couple of questions from the audience, whether we have time or not really. Anyone? Oh, this is our word cloud, yes. So please do enter 2-3 words that come to mind when you think of 5G, and this will populate automatically through a very clever machine, a word cloud. So we want more words than this. We want a big, nice, puffy cloud. So come on, give us more words. Words that you might have heard, words that you think were missing from today's discussion. And while you are filling that in, I will take the opportunity to once again thank the organizers from Mobile Talks and Mobile World Capital, and of course our esteemed expert panelists. And I think they deserve a round of applause. Oh, I see challenges as the big one.
Hola, hola. Hola. Permitirme intervenir. I'm going to do it in Spanish, okay, because the audience is mainly Spanish. We've been talking about the importance of partnerships to start this race of the 5G deployment. Yo quiero explicaros que en España se están haciendo cosas verdaderamente interesantes en este sentido. GSMA, que es una organización non-profit, nosotros, que somos una fundación público-privada, participada por la propia industria, por la Administración General del Estado, la Generalitat de Cataluña, Ayuntamiento, algunas empresas de la industria y algunas empresas representantes de otras industrias, hemos sido capaces de poner en común a empresas, instituciones, startups, y a la propia industria para levantar proyectos pilotos que son únicos en el mundo y que vamos a ver la semana que viene en Barcelona. Hemos creado oficinas de proyecto y hemos puesto a trabajar conjuntamente a operadoras de telefonía móvil, a fabricantes de equipamiento, a industrias muy diversas, a startups y a las propias instituciones y al regulador para levantar pilotos en el ámbito de la salud. Vamos a ver una operación teleasistida en directo desde el Mobile World Congress. Hemos puesto un nodo 5G en Feria de Barcelona, otro nodo en el Hospital Clínico y el mejor cirujano en su especialidad del mundo va a ir asistiendo a una operación en directo. Eso va a pasar la semana que viene en España. Vamos a ver algún caso de uso de vehículo conectado con SEAT y Telefónica. Vamos a ver algún caso de uso también de drones operando en incendios. Vamos a ver robots teleoperados en distancia, desde el propio Congreso en instalaciones de Orange. O sea que estas cosas están pasando y están pasando en España. Quizás sea porque existen iniciativas como la nuestra u organizaciones como la propia GSMA que están jugando un cierto rol para que estas cosas se aceleren. Y para poner en valor lo que se ha dicho hoy aquí, esto tiene que ser un win-win para todo el mundo. Lo difícil es encontrar esos modelos de negocio para todas las partes, pero creerme que existen. Es verdad que 5G todavía no es una tecnología que esté funcionando, pero si nos ponemos a pensar un poquito, se nos ocurren esos casos de uso. En el ámbito de los contenidos vamos a ver cosas verdaderamente espectaculares. Lanzo el reto. Hoy hablábamos de competir contra Marc Márquez en directo, ¿por qué no? O contra Fernando Alonso, ¿por qué no? Entonces, bueno, pensemos que esta tecnología viene para quedarse, viene para cambiar el mundo y viene sobre todo para mejorar nuestras vidas, esperemos. La tecnología no es buena o mala, depende del uso que hagamos de ella, el que mejore nuestra sociedad. Así que, bueno, aquellos de vosotros que vengáis al Mobile World Congress, esperamos tener la oportunidad de veros y de que podáis ver estos casos de uso, estas aplicaciones futuras de esta tecnología. Muchas gracias.